university bureaucracies, not the individuals.
My Lords, I put my name to the Amendment 21 under the name of the Noble Lord, Lord Moylan, alongside Lord Strathcarron. The Noble Lord, Lord Wallace of Saltaire, earlier suggested that the front page of the Telegraph, complaining about the government backing down, was simply complaints that mere amendments to the bill. But my concern is that the government amendments are in danger of gutting the bill. I thought that the hopes of this bill were to allow a shift in the balance of power in higher education institutions away from censoriousness towards open-minded, tolerant free speech. But so much turns on enforcement, it seems to me, because one's rights are only as effective as the remedies available when they're violated. So Clause 4, as was, underpinned that duties designed to protect academic freedom through allowing a person to bring civil proceedings against a university or college in respect to a breach of these duties. That is, it would hit the universities where it hurts the pocket. An institution guilty of violating academic freedom would have to fork out cash to an individual whose rights were infringed. And as one academic law professor, Professor Julius Grover, an associate professor at the University of Oxford, points out, that threat alone could be enough to encourage university and college leaders to promote academic freedom. Let's see what we're left with the government's new amendments. It's all a matter of national level administrative procedures, where a person can now only bring private proceedings if they've previously brought a complaint relating to the same subject matter under a relevant complaint scheme, that is the Office of Students. And it's relying on such complaint schemes that I have a problem. Because if anyone is familiar with such complaint schemes, they can be sclerotic, bureaucratic, take months, sometimes years, and so on. And also, what's more, is they're vulnerable to political interference. A political appointee will oversee the Office of Students' complaints procedure after all. So a beleaguered academic whose freedom has been violated will have to wait and wait before being able to bring a meaningful claim against the university. And the Noble Lord, Lord Moylan's amendment, I think, avoids the threat of over-litigious responses that have been mentioned, but actually gives us a way out. Now, no one is claiming that these remedies will suffice to keep campus cancel culture at bay. But I do think it's important that they will give university authorities pause while encouraging intimidated staff and students to have the confidence to be able to voice their dissenting views. Now, most of the pushback against Clause 4 has been from the university vice-chancellors and those who run colleges. And I absolutely agree with the points made by the Noble Lord, Lord Moore on this. This is a powerful, privileged lobby group of people with an interest in this. And I appreciate that if you run a college, it's your worst nightmare to have a civil tort that's aimed at you. I understand. However, I think it's precisely those who run universities who need to feel that the pressure of this legislation is more than words. Because despite all the focus on ideological troublemakers and mischief makers that we've heard from the Noble Lords today, they are presented as the villains, just waiting to pounce into the civil courts and throw around legislation. I think this is an incredible example of straw manning. The very drivers of this bill is that there are real-life, concrete troublemakers happening here and now in universities that are targeting closing down free speech. And they are declaring that certain views are verboten. They're not an imagined troublemaker, they're really happening now. Yet somehow the villains that have been described that are imagined are those that are somehow only waiting to use this clause to make money. The truth is that despite what the Noble Lord, Lord Grabiner suggests, Vice-Chancellors are not as yet queuing up to invite J.K. Rowling to speak at their universities. The suggestion that she can speak is good. Invite her, all of you. Why not? A challenge. The villains of this piece are often posed as Generation Snowflake or social justice warriors who are young. And goodness knows I spend huge amounts of my time when I'm not here going around talking at universities, to university students, to sixth formers, and those Generation Snowflake do exist, and wow, do they heckle. I know all about that, but actually, I do not think they are the problem. Because actually, often the problem is university senior managements who either spinelessly give in to the loud demands of a minority of students, or indeed lead the charge with ideological silencing policies that actually are adding to a censorious climate. And I talked about them in my earlier speech. Sussex University has been named and shamed so often in this House in relation to Professor Kathleen Stock that I've got to the point where I'm feeling sorry for them. Because actually, Sussex University's Vice-Chancellor is not some outlier. He's one of many. We just happen to know about Kathleen Stock because she went public. This is not some imaginary culture wars. These are university managers who are hanging their own professors and academics and students often out to dry. The noble Lord Blunkett mentioned Professor Joe Phoenix. And indeed, I've heard a variety of interviews with Professor Phoenix and met her on many an occasion. She's battling away in an employment tribunal. And it's true that it's difficult to sort out how she can get redress for her reputation having been traduced. She's taking action against the Open University, the way she was treated by Essex University, but she actually did say that she was shocked but not surprised that the government had folded on Clause 4. She felt she had been abandoned yet once more. There are many people like Joe Phoenix who are fighting on. And if you look at, for example, the files kept by the Free Speech Union, of which I'm an advisory member, of all of the... and people think that that must mean something, and it does mean something. It means I'm committed to free speech. If you look at their files, there are hundreds of examples of students and academics who've been suspended, gone through disciplinary procedures by university authorities for misspeaking, saying the wrong thing. So for me, I wanted this law to frighten university authorities a little bit. The noble Lord Moylan's amendment, I thought, had done a huge amount to ensure that the over-shilling impact that the noble Lord Willis talked about of litigiousness everywhere could be kept at bay, whilst also ensuring that that tort exists. It won't solve all the problems. There's a much bigger cultural problem in relation to free speech in society. But those opposing Clause 4 are too often not loud enough to fight that culture either. They tell us that they don't need this bill, they don't need this clause, but everyone here is a free speech warrior. I wish. We need this clause, and we need you all to become free speech warriors as well.
For a lifetime in the law,